Hey everyone, I wanted to make another video on the garden, not just the plants, but to explain a few of the structures and some of the things that we've done to support plants, because a lot of times people have questions and are curious, and I'd like to just address some of those. So I'm just going to walk through and show some things that I've learned along the way. So here we go. Just one thing I learned is saving sticks. So this is off of a curly willow, but if you save sticks that fall off trees and such, you can use them to brace up plants. And like right here in this strawberry bed, I've just used some sticks on the corners here to hold up this bird netting. I don't know if you can see the bird netting or not, but the strawberries, I have found the birds really like them, of course the squirrels too, but this bird netting really helps keep that from happening. It is kind of a pain when you buy it and trying to unroll it. You will probably feel like you want to tear your hair out, but finally you learn how to manage it. So that is what we've done in this bed, and it really helps keep the critters out of there. So and I wanted to say something about this shade cloth. We bought this a couple of years ago, and I only used it in the very heat of the summer. But this year I decided, hey, because most of the greens in this greenhouse, tunnel, whatever you want to call it, those are mostly leafy greens, like for salads and kale, and the summer heat will just finally get to them. So I put the shade cloth on early, and I actually really like it because it's about, I don't know what it is out here, it's in the 70s, maybe 75, I don't know, pretty warm out here. But when I walk in here, there is a definite, I would say, 4 to 5 degree cooler temperature in here. And so even though some of these plants are bolting, and that's what you're seeing here, that is spinach, which has it's decided, okay, it's too warm, I'm going to make seed now, so it bolts. Same thing back here with Swiss chard. And I let one of these plants go ahead and do that so I can save seed. And I just do different ones every year. Whatever kind of comes up, I just let it do its thing. So that's what these tall plants are. But so that shows you it's still pretty warm in here, and it's actually been pretty cool weather the last few days in the evening. So, but it's still warm enough for these guys to bolt. Same thing with this lettuce here. See how it's gone tall? And a lot of times you can just cut these off, break them off, whatever, and keep growing your greens. And I do that a lot. So let's see, what else can I tell you about? The kale should go through the summer and actually into the fall, so that'll be kind of good. Let's go out here, and so I've got the bird netting over this bed too. You can see in my hand here, it's not very expensive either, and you get a lot of it. You get a very large amount. So I've got this trellis up here and the bird netting goes over it because I have strawberries in here. You can also use row covers. I don't seem to be drawn to that because I like to see my vegetables. I like to see what's going on. And the row covers you have to kind of take on and off. Now I could raise this shade cover up or I could put it down. But the only thing is there's like a fine balance because I want the plants to have enough sun to at least grow or sprout or whatever. So there's a kind of a fine line there. This right here is a tumbler composter, and it's been kind of a challenge because you would think, oh, that should be super easy. Well, it is and it's not. So it's very easy to turn. You just take it and do this. It's very full right now. Okay, you have to keep it wet, but not over wet. So you want it moist. And the other thing is, you really need 4 times as much carbon to nitrogen. So right now we're getting a lot of food scraps, and of course stuff from the garden and the yard. So that's high in nitrogen, and the carbon, I was not putting enough carbon in there. And like I said, this is the reason I'm making this video, because if anything I say helps someone else, then that's my whole purpose. So in compost, whether it's this kind or on the ground or whatever, you need a lot of carbon to that nitrogen, because if you have all nitrogen, and that's one of my key things I want to talk about, if you have all nitrogen, it's going to stink, your compost. And the other thing is, you're going to get nice big leaves. The compost that you use, if you use it in your garden, you're going to get nice green, nice big leaves, which is wonderful for the leafy greens like this. So here's a perfect example. Huge leafy greens, but the high nitrogen produces 0 to very little fruit. So I did already take, this was broccoli. There was a small thing of it. This, you can see huge leaves, but small fruit. So in a lot of these areas in my garden, there's high nitrogen, and then there's a nice balance. And the leafy greens, great for, if you got nitrogen, great, great, great. But if you want to try to grow beets or radishes, I can't grow a radish to save my life. It's the funniest thing, because you've got to have that balance for that root growth. So high nitrogen does not equal great fruit on your vegetables. When I say fruit, I mean, the end product, the beet, the cauliflower, leafy greens. That's okay. But if you want roots or fruit, that's another story. And the one thing that I'm doing to try to counter that is to apply bone meal. If anybody has any other suggestions, bone meal does take a while. So it's, I can't, you can't, it won't fix it overnight. So even my onion bulbs are very small because of the high nitrogen. Look at these beautiful green leaves on these onions. High nitrogen, small fruit. And they still have a little ways to go, but still, they should be much bigger than that. Let's see, what else? These right here, people get a kick out of this. These are actually box springs out of a mattress. So, you get creative when you want to save money and looking for things that you need. because everything, as we know, is very, very high priced anymore. So be creative. Let's see. This was a tub that we had that we really no longer used it for anything, but it made a great potato container. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. Like I said, high nitrogen, I get lots of leaves, but we'll see what happens underneath. Am I going to have a nice big potato, or am I just going to have a lot of little ones like I had last year with not much there? So, like I said, if that can help somebody, then it's worth it. Right here, here's another example of the sticks. These leaves got so big, and like I said, this actually, somehow I got lucky and had the right combination of nitrogen and for these to produce and for the cauliflower. But the leaves got so big, and I try to use all the space I can, so I planted some more beets in here, and I just use these sticks and prop up the leaves so that these other plants can get sunshine. So just a way of trying to grow as much food as possible. I am not a very neat gardener. I just can't seem to plant in rows. I don't know. I just kind of like all the mixture because I feel like you can kind of confuse pests that way too when you mix everything up, and that's just kind of how I like to do it too. So, and here's another example too, high nitrogen. So I got a lot of these vines of peas, but for the amount of vines that I have growing, there were very little peas. I mean, if you look here, I've got some blossoms here coming out, but this thing should be full. So I have picked off of this a few times, but like I said, there should be a lot more for as many as I have planted in there. So not sure. Of course, we have these cattle panels that we put up this year. So those are a permanent fixture. And we have plans to put other ones into the other bed next year. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, I will do my best. The one thing I do want to say is, people come out and see this and they think that I have, two green thumbs. The thing is, I really don't, because what it is that you're seeing is years and years of mistakes that I've made, and just learning that, what the plants need. And a lot of times I just come out here and I feel like I'm just kind of, putzing around, but it seems to work. But it's just years and years and years of killing numerous plants and learning what not to do. I guess that's my biggest lesson is that's what I've learned, is like what not to do. And I don't always remember what not to do. So if you're wondering what this is, that is arugula, that's arugula right there. And I just used some drawers that we were going to burn, and I thought, well, heck, let's just put it back here out of sight. And this box here was a big box that we were going to burn, and I was like, hey, let's just use it for a temporary bed this year. So I've got sweet potatoes growing in there, so we'll see what happens with those. But the arugula has gone to seed. This is the seed pods, and I'll be harvesting those pretty soon. Once they dry out, a lot of these, this one's dry. You can see the seeds in there. So anyway, that's about it, I think. This is the wiggle wire, and Brad could tell you more about that if you want to know about that. This is the track that it goes in, and the plastic, when we put it over it, it's held on by this wiggle wire. It's one of the best inventions since sliced bread to me. So anyway, I hope that helps explain a few things, and if you have any suggestions, I am open to them. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.